The difference between drafting the right running back and the wrong running back could be the difference between winning and losing your fantasy league. Inside of today's video, we're going to be breaking down 10 running backs that go throughout the draft that I believe are going to be league winners in 2025 fantasy football and help be a part of your team that wins your fantasy league. But before we can get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you don't have enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure they do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So without further ado, let's get into 10 running backs that will win leagues in 2025 fantasy football. We begin with my first league winning running back, and that is going to be Achane, running back of the Miami Dolphins. Current ADP from Sleeper, ESPN, NFL, and CBS have him as the running back 7 at pick 13, meaning if you're in a 12-team league, he's coming off the board as the first pick inside of the second round. Last year, Achane performed greatly for your fantasy team. Running back 5 on the season in PPR, running back 6 in points per game. Back-to-back seasons inside the top 6 of points per game. His rookie year, he was the RB5 in points per game, even with Raheem Mostert seeing so much work. And now, Achane is the head honcho in this backfield. Guys behind him like Jalen Wright, Ollie Gordon. These are guys that are going to see touches, but Achane is the clear running back 1 in this backfield. Last year, he played in all 17 games. 11 of those games were with Tua Tagovailoa, and with Tua Tagovailoa versus without, it was night versus day. Weeks 1, week 2, we see Achane and Tua before Tua ends up going ahead and trying to truck stick Damar Hamlin and ends up getting himself taken out with a concussion for multiple games. He was the RB3 and the RB2 up against the Buffalo Bills. He misses all the way up until week 8 up against the Cardinals. When he returns, Achane's the RB2, followed by the RB2. Then the running back 24, running back 6, running back 6, running back 7, 13, 14, and 3 in terms of PPR. When Tua Tagovailoa is healthy, there is a crystal clear path towards Achane being the RB number 1. Last year with Tua Tagovailoa, which is going to be on the left versus without Tua Tagovailoa on the right, Achane with Tua Tagovailoa, 21.7 PPR points per game. Second at RB without Tua, running back 42, 8.6 PPR points per game. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Nick, it is more likely that Tua gets hurt compared to a lot of other quarterbacks, and while I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sins, I do think that's a fine assessment, but ultimately, I do believe that the backups are better in Miami compared to last season. If Tua was to get hurt, knock on wood, we don't root for injuries, then Zach Wilson coming in is a whole lot better than what that bum-ass motherfucker Skylar Thompson and the other quarterbacks were putting up last year for this Dolphins offense. I believe that the Dolphins offense might be able to look a whole lot better than they did last season if Tua is able to stay healthy. And with the facts being the facts that the Dolphins defense is absolutely dog shit, especially in terms of the secondary, I think the team's going to be down a lot late in games, and you're going to be seeing Achane just gobbling up a whole bunch of targets late on in games. And that's where Achane makes his money in fantasy. He was second in targets last year, first in receptions, and first in terms of receiving yards. Last season, a tweet from Dynasty M, only one running back was able to post 10 plus receiving points per game last season, and that was Achane. Running back 1 overall is well within his range of outcomes this season, which I completely agree with. In terms of efficiency, he was 10th in yards per touch, 7th in yards created, with the 22nd best game script, which is not very good, and the 31st best offensive line. I sure do believe that the Dolphins offensive line isn't going to be that great again, but as long as they are just slightly better, that's going to help out Achane. So I'm very confident in Achane this season, and even if the Dolphins end up imploding as a team as a whole, I still do strongly believe that Achane's going to be seeing so much work that it won't even matter. At number 2, we got Bucky Irving, ADP running back 11 at pick 23, the 2.11. Now, this is a report from a couple of weeks ago. Bucky Irving's opportunities are likely to increase substantially this season per head coach Todd Bowles in this article from Dan Pompey. Bowles says he expects greatness as the game has slowed down for Irving, and he's improved his footwork and pass protection. We already know that Rachaad White ended up getting hurt, so that opens the door up even further towards more touches for Bucky Irving. A tweet from Dwayne McFarland. Bucky Irving, 19.7 points per game in 8 games when he reached 45% of the snaps. Round 4 pick, wrestled the job away after the bye week in week 12. Final 4 games, 63% of the snaps, 72% of the attempts, and 100% inside of the 5. Higher targets per route run than White, 21% versus 18%. Wouldn't rule out a more pass down work in 2025. Per Dan Grazzino, Irving is viewed by people in the building as special enough to warrant a high volume running back 1 role that includes pass catching work. Add in the ability to catch too. He's very well rounded. So all the reports are basically given the Gawk 9000 special to Bucky Irving, how he's the lead back in this offense, but yet his ADP isn't moving. He has been stuck as the running back 11 like he fell into some quicksand for the last few months, and no one seems to be adjusting. Despite all of this positive news. Last season, if you look at his games with 60+% of the snaps, he was the RB12, the RB9, and then in week 19, which is just the first game inside the playoffs, up against the Washington Commanders, he put up 16.3 fantasy points. In terms of efficiency, he averaged 4.9 true yards per carry, 6th. He was 5th in yards per touch, 3rd in juke rate, 6th in explosive rating, and 2nd in yards created per touch. Now, some people might say, Nick, they lost Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen is now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is that going to completely rip the heart out of the offense? In my opinion, the answer to that would be a resounding no. I believe that there are too many good weapons around Baker Mayfield for this offense to come out completely limp dick. Running back rushing yards over expected per carry and yards after contact per carry in 2024, Bucky Irving is near the tippy top. This man is an incredible talent who stole the job last season. I believe he's the clear RB1 in this offense, and frankly, where he's going right now in fantasy drafts is a complete and utter steal. Next up, we move into the 3rd round here with Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals, running back 12 off the board at pick 27, the 303. Now, this report from Jory Epstein, Bengals offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher is confirmed to making Chase Brown a superstar this season. Chase Brown is going to, by the end of the season, be a household name. He's everything Eckler was. You'll all know who he is. Now, we've talked about this report countless times, but this report is really moving in my opinion, because when you compare Chase Brown to Austin Eckler, it's basically is just telling you through, a little bit of coach speak that Austin Eckler, we remember who he was, right? When he was on the Chargers, this motherfucker was eating targets for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and he was going back for seconds like a fat kid at a buffet. This man was sucking in targets like his name was Kirby, and that's exactly how they envision Chase Brown. The Cincinnati Bengals defense is legitimately so putrid that when I look at the depth chart, it makes me want to throw up. That defense is completely dog shit, so that means that the Bengals offense late in games is going to have to throw. Now, if you are a running back that's just really a guy that is in between the tackles, a guy like Derrick Henry, right, who just gets a lot of rushing touches and not a lot of targets, right? Chase Brown is going to be seeing a lot of targets late in games. So even if the Cincinnati Bengals are getting bent over a table, you're still going to see Chase Brown getting a whole lot of work in this offense, and that is music to my ears. He was the running back 14 in points per game last season, running back 10 on the year in PPR. From weeks 9 through 17, when the team truly gave him the workload, he was a top 12 running back in 6 of 8 games, top 8 running back in 5 of 8 games, and 4 of 8 games inside of the top 5 in PPR. If you look at the left side of the screen versus the right side of the screen is when they actually gave him work. On the right side of the screen, he was the RB3 in terms of points per game, 20.6 points per game. The first part of the graphic is when they were using Zach Moss more, where he was the RB30 with 11.3 PPR points per game. A tweet from Nick Widjalilimo says, Chase Brown, running back 10 in total PPR fantasy points, running back 14 in points per game, 8 games without Zach Moss, 18.9 carries per game, 5.5 targets per game, running back 1 in expected PPR points per game. Now, I am not going to sit here and pretend that Chase Brown is this phenomenal A1 steak sauce level athlete, level running back, because I don't think he is. But I think, and I know that he is going to be used heavily. So even if he's not one of the top running backs in the NFL, he's more in the middle of the pack to me. He is going to eat because of the situation that he is in. I fully believe in Chase Brown this season, and I expect him to have an absolute feast this year in Cincinnati. I think he is a steal where he's going right now, and I think he should be clearly going in the second round of fantasy drafts. Next up, we move to Alvin Kamara, running back of the New Orleans Saints, ADP running back 15 at pick 38, the 402. Now, Alvin Kamara is the classic case of fantasy players being scared shitless to draft old running backs. They are scared to draft someone that is old, and that is why Alvin Kamara is going this low. Because if you think about Alvin Kamara's career as a whole, and you think about last year, there has been zero signs of him breaking down, right? Of the metaphorical car that is Alvin Kamara, like he was Lightning fucking McQueen breaking down, right? There is no signs of that. He is not washed up. It's like when Doc Hudson goes up against Lightning McQueen in the race and he still got it. Still got it. Running back 9 in PPR last year, running back 5 in PPR points per game. 7 of 8 seasons in the NFL, he has finished as a top 8 points per game finisher. So why won't it happen again? And he was still incredibly efficient last year, at least based upon what my assumptions would have been going into last year, where I liked Alvin Kamara. He was more efficient than I thought. 12th in dominator rating, 8th in explosive rating, and 1st in target share. He played in 14 games, 3 games missed with a groin, and he also played through a broken hand. Shout out Greg Jennings. His leg broke. 228 carries. He was 17th at running back, 19th in rushing yards, but he was 1st in targets with 89, 2nd in receptions with 68, one off of being very nice, I like, my name is Borat with 69, 2nd in receiving yards, and 18th in total touchdowns. Alvin Kamara is going to get faded for one reason and two reasons, I guess. Reason 1, he's old as fuck. And I don't want to draft him because he's too old. That's what people are going to say, right? And the second reason is he's on the Saints, and the Saints are a complete and utter disaster. Guess what? The Saints were a dumpster fire after the first couple of weeks of last season, and Alvin Kamara was still putting up big numbers. So don't fade Alvin Kamara this season, or actually fade him. I hope that the people that aren't watching this video continue to fade him so I can scoop up that value in the middle of my fantasy draft in round 4 and get Alvin Kamara. The pass catching upside is far too high for me to avoid him. And, Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, doesn't matter. Alvin Kamara, top 12 running back. Moving into my 5th league-winning running back, we've got Omarion, Chris Breeze, Hampton of the LA Chargers, ADP running back 17 at pick 44, the 408. If you guys have enjoyed today's video thus far, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. And I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friend star partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog, sign up using the link in the video description. You'll get a free pick plus your first time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash, as well as receiving my draft guide as long as you make a $10 deposit and play through the money on there. I will send you the draft guide the next day. If you are new to Underdog and don't know what Underdog is, they're the best ball platform in the world. It is fantasy football, but just the draft, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, no in-season management. Underdog automatically puts the highest scores into your lineup at the end of every single week. Their biggest tournament right now, Best Ball Mania, $2 million in first place, $15 million in total prizes, just $25 to enter. Come draft with me on there. There are also smaller contests on there as well that you can hop into for cheaper entry fees. So make sure you guys do check that out. Promo code Notorious. And if you just want my draft guide and you're already on Underdog, or you don't want to sign up for Underdog, link in the video description on the Patreon, $12.50. I am updating that constantly for full PPR and half PPR. It also has some other things on there that you might be interested in as well, like my rankings versus ESPN's rankings, right? That's something that I think would help you guys out a ton, and some other websites as well. So Omarion Hampton, running back of the LA Superchargers, ADP running back 17 at pick 44, the 408. In my opinion, Omarion Hampton should be a 3rd round pick every single time. I don't know why his ADP hasn't budged, and I am perfectly fine taking him in the 3rd round. Now, if you are drafting with a bunch of airheads, you're drafting with a bunch of fucking idiots, you can wait until pick 44, but I'm likely reaching for him just to make sure that I get him because I think he should be going inside the third round if your league mates have, the screws not loose in their brain. Right now, the most recent report on Najee Harris is from Chris Rim. Reports Chargers running back Najee Harris participated in football drills on Tuesday. It was Harris's first time participating in football drills this training camp. Rim reports the 27-year-old did drills with a football off to the side with an athletic trainer. He is slowly progressing back to a full football activities between jogging and individual drills on Tuesday, but remains on the PUP list for now. Omarion Hampton is the Chargers starter, while the third string spot still remains open for competition. Harris may not be ready for week 1, but working with the football is an optimistic sight. Working with the football on the sideline with an athletic trainer is an optimistic sign. Sure, it's better than him sitting on the bench watching, but that doesn't move the needle. At this point, it feels like Omarion Hampton has solidified himself as the Chargers starter, like that Roto World blurb said that we just read. Omarion Hampton is the Chargers starter. Now, earlier on in the offseason, before the Najee Harris incident of July 4th, 2025, I thought it was going to take some time for them to kind of slow roll Omarion Hampton into being the RB1, but it is very abundantly clear at this point that Omarion Hampton is that guy. And if you give him the full workload in a hardball system, this dude is going to go absolutely ballistic. We saw a bunch of games last season where J.K. Dobbins, a severely injured version of J.K. Dobbins at this point, not the guy that arrived in Baltimore all those years ago as a rookie. That guy was putting up absolutely huge performances in LA last season. So imagine what Omarion Hampton is going to do. The 22nd overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. 13 games played in 2024 at UNC as a 21-year-old. 281 rushes for 1,660 yards, 5.9 yards per carry, 15 touchdowns, 38 receptions for 373 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he wasn't just a one-hit wonder. He was a 2-hit wonder. He had 2 great seasons. Sophomore season in 2023, 13 games played, 253 carries for 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns with 29 receptions for 222 yards and a touchdown, 16 total touchdowns. And he scored 17 total touchdowns last year in 2024. I have full confidence that Omarion Hampton is going to come out the gate on fire, NBA Jam style, and I think he's going to be able to push off Najee and be the clear RB1 on the team. The fact that Najee is this veteran running back doesn't really help his case anymore because the guy isn't actually on the practice field. Next up, we move to Hubba Bubba Max, Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers, ADP running back 18 at pick 45. I got a Colt 45 and 2 zigzags because Chuba Hubbard is all I need at the 409 running back, 15 in PPR, running back 13 in PPR points per game. Last season, he had 8 of 15 games played inside of the top 12. Now, entering into last season, everyone was getting down on their knees and just giving the Sukalamink special to Jonathan Brooks. And rightfully so, I did the same thing. Pause, metaphorically, of course. I love Jonathan Brooks, but Jonathan Brooks ends up coming back from his injury and getting hurt instantly again, which is just terrible. But Chuba Hubbard is clearly the RB1 inside of this offense. That has been made clear throughout the offseason. Rico Dowdle, Travis Etienne's brother, Trevor Etienne, isn't the running back one on this team. It is Chuba Hubbard, who was 12th in true yards per carry last year, 6th in dominator rating with the 30th best game script. Remember that graphic I showed you guys earlier? Running back rushing yards over expected per carry and yards after contact per carry. Chuba Hubbard is one of the better running backs on this list, just like Bucky Irving. So Chuba Hubbard is a guy that I have 100% confidence in this season. I think the Panthers offense is going to look significantly more consistent than they did last season. Because if you remember last year, it starts off bad, then Bryce Young gets benched for Andy Dalton. It starts to get, a little bit better, but it's still a bit foggy. And then, like the dew in Conor McGregor's intro into the UFC, the foggy dew. But with that said, right, you end up seeing then Andy Dalton gets into a car crash. They insert Bryce Young back in there. And then the offense really starts to ascend. It looked so good towards the end of last season. They bring in Ted McMillan, so I think this is an offense that's going to be able to put up a decent amount of points game in and game out. And Chuba Hubbard, also one of the better running backs in the NFL, up against stacked boxes, best yards per carry versus 8+ men in the box, RB6, 4.31 yards per carry. So while Chuba Hubbard isn't necessarily this household name after one big season, he did great last season when called upon, and I think he could be a very consistent asset at your running back 2 spot as the RB18 off of the board, with the upside to finish inside of the top 5, the top 8. Next up, we got TreVeyon Henderson of the New England Patriots, ADP running back 23 at pick 63, the 6.3. Now, earlier on in the summer, I was very much off of TreVeyon Henderson, and it had nothing to do with the ability of TreVeyon Henderson, because everything I saw in terms of the tape at Ohio State with Quinshon Judkins was nothing short of phenomenal. The guy looked incredible. He was the 38th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, meaning he got picked inside the second round. Last year, he had 144 rushes for 1,016 yards and 10 touchdowns, 27 receptions for 284 yards and a touchdown, put up over 1,000 yards 2 seasons at Ohio State. So the guy clearly can play ball, but I was very worried about, one, Josh McDaniels. That motherfucker loves using the running back by committee. He probably is the kind of guy that could completely fuck up the season of TreVeyon Henderson. Kind of like how Arthur Smith absolutely put Bijan Robinson on a t-shirt in his rookie year. I think the same thing could happen from Josh McDaniels with TreVeyon Henderson. But then I had an epiphany. It cost me 50 at Tiffany's. Shout out to Tiffany Stephanie, because of the fact that he just has looked so good in every training camp clip. Every single beat reporter is beating this dude off aggressively. They are talking him up so heavily. And then in the first preseason game, this motherfucker takes it straight to the crib right off the rip on the kickoff. Mike Vrabel on Patriots running back TreVeyon Henderson. This is from August 6th. He's a quick learner. If there's something that happens in protection, he rarely makes the same mistake twice, meaning that Vrabel trusts him to block. He plays with effort when he doesn't have the ball. Vrabel says the rookie is capable of playing different positions because he has great hands. He is a great pass catcher. Jordan Schultz says there's a lot of excitement within Patriots circles about rookie running back TreVeyon Henderson. Everyone knew about his home run speed and explosiveness, but multiple teams have also emphasized his elite pass catching and pass protection abilities. Words like special and difference maker have been used to describe him. Surely feels like New England has a super dynamic young back for Drake May to lean on. So, again, those reports, very, very positive. Now, it's important to understand when something's kind of just like a fluff piece that you read and something that is actually actionable. And to me, these reports are actionable. They show you how good Henderson is. I have also read reports that Henderson is described as one of the team's top performers in camp, and every single clip I watch of him, every single one without fail, I am seeing Jahmyr Gibbs type of play. I really do believe that I might have been wrong about Ramondre Stevenson holding it back. Sure, it's still a possibility. Sure, maybe it will take a while, but inside the 6th round, I want to not be scared of Ramondre Stevenson. I want to take the upside shot, and that's exactly what TreVeyon Henderson is. At number 8, we got Isiah Pacheco, ADP running back 26 at pick 70, the 10th pick inside of the 6th round. Last year obviously didn't go too well for Pacheco. Had you have drafted Pacheco based upon my recommendation, you felt like you got absolutely fucked over. Like you just got hit by Ray Lewis. Prime Ray Lewis just rocked you, and you didn't have a helmet or pads on, so you're probably fucking paralyzed, right? That's how you felt after what Pacheco did last year. But there's a lot of reasoning as to why he didn't succeed, right? He comes out the gate, he looks fine, right? Fractures his fibula, his lower leg in week 2, missing 9 games, and then he hurt his ribs in week 17, missing 1 game. According to Adam Koffler, per Fantasy Points data, before fracturing his fibula in week 2 last season, Isiah Pacheco was 5th among running backs in expected fantasy points per game, 19.4, and had the 7th highest route participation rate, 56.5%. He was on his way to being the bell cow back for the Kansas City Chiefs. But for some reason, people don't want to take the RB1 on one of the best offenses in the NFL until pick 70? That make much sense, right? When you really Think about it when you put it under the microscope, when you actually assess the situation. Sure, Pacheco sucked donkey dick last season if you had him, because sure, he was the RB20 in week 1, RB16 in week 2 again. The expected points per game were phenomenal, 5th in expected points per game, but then he gets hurt, he comes back, and he doesn't do anything. But that's because fractured his fibula, his lower leg. The motherfucker hurt his leg, came back, and didn't perform, and we were shocked. We were shocked. Right? Like that painting, you know what I'm talking about? Or like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone when he grabs his face, right? That is how people felt. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he wasn't good after that happened to his leg. Now, he is a lot of time away from that injury happening. It happened in September of last season. I have seen a lot of clips of him, and he looks healthy. He doesn't look like that injury is holding him back. So I'm going to take my shot on the lead running back on the Kansas City Chiefs in the 6th round, the end of the 6th round, sometimes in the 7th round. Sue me, right? It just makes perfect sense. You don't have to overthink things in fantasy. At number 9, we got my guy, Tryone Tracy of the New York Football Giants, ADP running back 30 at pick 89, the 8.5. Adam Levitan, the latest take from Jordan Rannon on the Tryone Tracy versus Cam Scatterbo split. That is what Scatterbo's role likely will be early on in the season, with the carries being split somewhere in the 70 to 30 range in favor of Tracy. And what the initial part was talking about was Scatterbo's ability to catch passes. But Tryone Tracy also can catch passes. A report from earlier on in training camp, this is from August 3rd, shows that through 9 training camp practices, Russell Wilson was 80 of 121 for 10 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So at this time, Malik Neighbors had 22 catches and 6 touchdowns, which is great. Again, we're talking about practice, but Tryone Tracy had 13 catches. 13 of 80 of the receptions were to Tryone Tracy. So if Tryone Tracy is able to continue to build on his receiving ability that we saw last season, then we might be seeing Tryone Tracy really have a stranglehold over this backfield, where he did put up some solid games last season. RB5 up against the Cincinnati Bengals, RB7 up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, RB11 up against the New Orleans Saints back in week number 14. In games with 55+% of the snaps, Tryone Tracy was the RB21, 13.5 PPR points per game. And I don't think Russell Wilson is necessarily going to completely be able to fix everything that the Giants do wrong, but even if Russell Wilson isn't that old, Mr. Unlimited from Seattle back in the day, as long as he's able to jolt this offense to not being completely and utterly limp dick, that's going to update the ability of a guy like Tryone Tracy. And if he's dumping the ball off a ton to Tryone Tracy, those are just free fantasy points that you're basically just picking up off the ground. So Tryone Tracy, there's a lot of upside in him going late in drafts. So to me, I'm going to be all over him this summer. Pause. At number 10, we got Jordan, the numbers Mason. What do they mean? Of the Cold Like Minnesota Vikings, ADP running back 38 at pick 1, 2, 3. Shout out to the Jackson 5. It's as easy as ABC. 1, 2, 3. 1103. The 3rd pick inside the 11th round. Yahoo Fantasy Sports tweets out, Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason will likely share a relatively equal workload split per Seifert ESPN. Aaron Jones inside the 5-yard line in 2024, 13 carries for -2 yards. Now, a couple of years ago, Aaron Jones was like an automatic touchdown. You hand this motherfucker the ball in Green Bay with the Cheeseheads, and this dude was just barreling through multiple people. You couldn't bring him down. Beast Quake level run. The guy just gets into the end zone. He has a home inside the end zone. But recently, especially in Minnesota, he has been on the struggle bus a lot more inside of the red zone. He is getting older. Now, do I believe that it's genuinely going to be a 50-50 split? Probably not. But this pick is very simple. If something happens to Aaron Jones and the Minnesota Vikings, despite, I don't really love J.J. McCarthy, like, the offense was good with Mono Man Sam, so they're probably going to be pretty good with J.J. McCarthy. So if you expect the offense to be good, if something was to happen to Aaron Jones, knock on wood again, I'm not rooting for injury. I don't want him to get hurt. But if he was to get hurt, then Jordan Mason might be like a top 18-ish running back reliably. If he doesn't get hurt, then Jordan Mason is a flex with touchdown upside in good matchups, and maybe he could mess around and have a couple of top 18-ish finishes. So for me, he's an elite handcuff with weekly playable upside, right? If you're getting hit with bye-pocalypse, your running backs are on bye, you're not really that pissed that you have to play Jordan Mason. There are worse options out there, and if something was to happen to Aaron Jones, you're looking at a potential league winner. Last year, Jordan Mason was 7th in true yards per carry, 9th in yards per touch. Jordan Mason, in games where he was the starter, was the RB11 and 16.6 PPR points per game. He started off the season last year as the RB5, the RB11, the RB24, and the RB5. I'm not saying that Jordan Mason is as good as prime Aaron Jones. I'm not saying that Jordan Mason is as good as prime Christian McCaffrey. He's fucking Bo Jackson, right? No, I'm not saying that, but he's good enough in this situation in Minnesota to be able to run the ball, to score some touchdowns, and to be a fine pick at ADP. And again, if something was to happen to Aaron Jones, you are just licking your chops that you drafted Jordan. The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you ended up enjoying, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It helped me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. If you want access to the rankings, check out the Patreon, link in the video description. And if you want to check out Underdog, please do so. Promo code Notorious, get that free pick, get the draft guide, and get your deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. I love you long time. I hope you guys have a great rest of your guys' day. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you haven't seen them already. Love you, as always. Good boy!